Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to tell you a story. A story about a man who had nothing, and yet discovered that he actually had everything he needed. A story about a beggar who changed his life, not because someone rescued him, not because he won the lottery, not because a miracle fell from the sky, but because he changed the way he thought. I want you to listen carefully, because this is not just his story. Somewhere in this journey, you might see yourself. There was once a man who sat on the same corner of a busy street every single day. Morning to night. Rain or heat. Summer or winter. He wore the same torn clothes. His beard was untrimmed. His eyes were tired. People passed him without noticing. Some dropped coins into his small metal bowl. Most didn't even look at him. He had been sitting there for years. He wasn't always a beggar. Years ago, he had dreams. He had energy. He had plans. But life hit him hard. He lost his job. Then his home. Then his family drifted away. One failure led to another. Every rejection made him smaller inside. Every setback whispered the same message in his mind: you are not enough. At first, he tried to fight back. He looked for work. He asked for help. He tried to rebuild. But after enough doors slammed in his face, something inside him broke. He stopped trying. And that's how he became what everyone now saw, a beggar. But here's the truth: he didn't become poor the day he lost his money. He became poor the day he lost his belief. Every day, as he sat on that street corner, he told himself the same story. I'm unlucky. The world is unfair. Nothing ever works for me. This is just my fate. Those thoughts became his reality. They shaped how he walked, how he spoke, how he looked at the world. When someone avoided eye contact, he saw it as proof that he was invisible. When someone tossed a coin carelessly, he saw it as confirmation that he was worthless. And the mind is powerful. It listens to what you tell it. It builds the world you describe. One afternoon, something unusual happened. A wealthy-looking man in a simple suit stopped in front of him. Instead of dropping a coin, the man stood there and stared at him for a moment. The beggar looked down, expecting the usual sound of metal hitting metal. But nothing came. Finally, the man spoke. How long have you been sitting here? The beggar shrugged. Years. Do you own this spot? The question confused him. Own it? No. I just sit here. The man looked at the wooden box the beggar was sitting on. It was old, dusty, and cracked. What's in the box? The beggar laughed softly. Nothing. Just an old box. I've been sitting on it forever. The man smiled slightly. Have you ever looked inside? Why would I? It's empty. The man paused. Then he said something that would change everything. You've been sitting on it for years. Maybe it's time you check. And then he walked away. The beggar was irritated at first. What a strange man, he muttered. What does he think I'll find? Treasure? But the question wouldn't leave his mind. Have you ever noticed how one simple question can disturb your entire belief system? For years, he had assumed the box was empty. He had never checked. He had never been curious. Why? Because he believed it was empty. Finally, out of boredom more than hope, he slid off the box and forced the old lid open. Inside, he saw something that made his heart stop. Gold. Old, dusty, but real gold coins filled the entire box. His hands trembled. His breath became heavy. For years, he had been begging for coins while sitting on a fortune. For years, he believed he had nothing, while sitting on everything. But here's where the story gets deeper. The gold changed his situation. But the question changed his mind. And that's the real treasure. You see, the box represents something powerful. It represents your potential, your skills, your ideas, your untapped abilities, your courage, your creativity. Most people walk through life sitting on their own treasure, convinced they are empty. They say, I'm not talented. I'm not smart enough. I don't have resources. I don't have connections. I'm just average. And because they believe it, they never open the box. The beggar could have done something very dangerous at that moment. He could have said, this must be fake. Or, I don't deserve this. Or, it's probably a trick. But instead, something shifted inside him. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a victim. He felt responsible. He realized something powerful: the box had always been there. No one hid it. No one locked it. He just never looked. That realization hurt more than poverty. Because it meant that part of his suffering came from his own assumptions. And that's a hard truth to accept. The next day, he didn't sit on the corner. Instead, he took the gold coins and sold a small portion of them. Not all. Just enough to start fresh. He bought clean clothes. He shaved. He looked at himself in a mirror for the first time in years. And something strange happened. He didn't just look different. He stood differently. He walked differently. He spoke differently. Because identity is not about money. It's about mindset. He rented a tiny room. Then he began asking himself new questions. What can I do? What am I good at? How can I create value? Before life collapsed, he used to work with wood. He had skills with his hands. He understood craftsmanship. So he rented a small workspace. With basic tools, he began building simple wooden stools and tables. The first pieces were not perfect. Some were crooked. Some were rough. But he didn't quit. Because this time, when something went wrong, he didn't say, I'm a failure. He said, I'm learning. That single shift changed everything. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, his work improved. People noticed the quality. Orders increased. He reinvested his earnings instead of wasting them. He hired one assistant. Then another. But here's the most important part of the story. The gold did not build his business. The gold only gave him a starting point. His mindset built everything else. Without the mental shift, he would have wasted the gold. He could have spent it on temporary comfort. He could have returned to the same street corner after the money ran out. Many people receive opportunities and lose them because their mindset never changes. But this man changed inside first. He stopped seeing himself as a beggar. He started seeing himself as a builder. Years later, he owned a successful furniture company. He employed dozens of workers. He was respected in his community. But sometimes, he would walk past that same street corner. And every time he did, he remembered something important. He remembered the box. He understood that most poverty begins in the mind long before it appears in the wallet. He began helping others, not just by giving money, but by asking questions. When he saw someone complaining about their life, he would gently ask, have you looked inside your box? When someone said, I can't, he would ask, have you tried? When someone said, there's nothing special about me, he would ask, how do you know? Because sometimes, people don't need a handout. They need a question that shakes them awake. Now let me speak directly to you. Maybe you're not sitting on a street corner. Maybe you're in school. Maybe you're at a job you don't like. Maybe you feel stuck. Invisible. Overlooked. Maybe you've told yourself the same story for years. I'm bad at speaking. I'm not confident. I'm not disciplined. I'm not lucky. I'm behind everyone else. But have you checked? Or are you sitting on your box? Potential doesn't scream. It whispers. It waits. It requires curiosity. The beggar's life changed the moment he became curious about something he had ignored for years. What if you're one decision away from change? What if you're one skill away? One habit away? One mindset shift away? The world often tells you that success is about resources. But resources without belief are wasted. Belief without resources can create miracles. The man's transformation wasn't magical. It was practical. He did 3 powerful things. First, he questioned his assumption. Second, he took responsibility. Third, he acted consistently. That's it. No shortcuts. No overnight success. No fantasy. Just awareness and action. And here's something even deeper. The box in the story was external, physical gold. But in real life, your box is internal. It might be your ability to learn quickly. It might be your empathy. It might be your creativity. It might be your discipline waiting to be built. It might be your voice. It might be your resilience. But if you keep telling yourself it's empty, you will never open it. There's another powerful lesson here. For years, people passed the beggar. Some pitied him. Some ignored him. No one asked him a powerful question. Sometimes, the right environment matters. The right mentor. The right friend. The right conversation. But even when the wealthy man asked the question, the beggar still had a choice. He could have ignored it. Change always begins with choice. You cannot control where you start. You cannot control everything that happens to you. But you can control what you believe about it. And beliefs shape behavior. Behavior shapes habits. Habits shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. The beggar changed his destiny because he changed his identity. He stopped saying, "I am a beggar," and started saying, "I am capable." Let me tell you something honest. You might not find gold when you open your box. But you will find something valuable. Skill can be learned. Confidence can be built. Strength can be developed. Discipline can be trained. Nothing is fixed. The most dangerous sentence in the world is, "That's just how I am." That sentence locks the box forever. Instead, ask better questions. What can I improve today? What skill can I practice? What small step can I take? You don't need a massive leap. You need a small, consistent move. The beggar didn't build a company in a week. He built one habit at a time. He showed up. He practiced. He improved. He reinvested. He learned. And over time, the world reflected his inner growth. Here's something powerful to remember. When he was begging, he focused on what he lacked. When he started building, he focused on what he could create. Your focus determines your direction. If you focus on problems, you will see more problems. If you focus on possibilities, you will begin to notice opportunities. The street corner didn't trap him. His mindset did. And once his mindset changed, the same world offered him new paths. So I want you to imagine something. Imagine you've been sitting on your box for years. What's inside? Maybe it's a talent for design. Maybe it's a business idea you've been too afraid to try. Maybe it's the courage to speak up. Maybe it's the discipline to wake up early and work on your dream. Maybe it's the decision to stop blaming and start building. What if the only thing stopping you is the belief that there's nothing there? The beggar's story is not about luck. It's about awareness. Awareness leads to responsibility. Responsibility leads to action. Action leads to growth. Growth leads to transformation. And transformation leads to freedom. He didn't just gain wealth. He gained dignity. He gained confidence. He gained purpose. And purpose is more powerful than gold. Years after his transformation, someone asked him, what was the most valuable thing in the box? He smiled and said, the question. Because without that question, the gold would have remained buried forever. So today, I want to ask you that same question. What are you sitting on? What assumptions have you made about yourself that you've never tested? What if you're stronger than you think? What if you're smarter than you believe? What if you're more capable than your past failures suggest? Your past does not define your potential. The beggar's history did not predict his future. Your current situation is not your final destination. It's just a chapter. And chapters can change. But only if you turn the page. So here's your challenge. Stop sitting on your box. Open it. Learn something new. Practice something difficult. Take responsibility for one small area of your life. Replace one negative thought with a constructive one. Build one habit. Improve 1% today. Small changes compound. And one day, you'll look back at this version of yourself and realize that this was the turning point. Not because someone gave you gold, but because you stopped believing you were empty. The beggar changed his life the moment he stopped accepting the story he had been telling himself. You can do the same. And maybe, just maybe, years from now, you'll be the one walking past your old street corner, grateful that you finally decided to look inside. If this story spoke to you, if it made you reflect even a little, then don't just move on. Think about your box. Because your treasure is not somewhere out there. It's been under you the whole time.